everybody. I'm so excited for today. I have our resident hormone expert, Amy Benjamin Moore. And Amy is a former educator of 30 years who is now turning her teaching skills in a new direction. So she empowers women in menopause to create self care habits, allowing them to live their best lives, guilt free. She recently received her Menopause Champion certification through the Menopause Experts Group. She calls herself a menopause mentor as she strives to help women become prepared for the menopause journey rather than becoming reactive. And
Mhm.
Amy, I just love that so much. I love that you've turned your teaching skills in a new direction, and now you're empowering women, through menopause. So I'm just curious. How did you get into this field, and what made you intrigued with this field? Do you mind sharing a little bit?
No, that's fine. I think a lot of us become a little bit of an expert after a journey is done, or as we're progressing through a journey. And I have obviously been progressing through menopause and looking back, all the gosh, I wish I would have known, or how did I not know this, or all of those things. I think it really kind of pulled together that, hey, I'm learning about this. I'm researching this myself. I really feel like I would be presenting a disservice if I didn't offer it to others to help them through.
That is so awesome. I just love that. Thank you so much for being here too. So first, Amy, I think you're going to, I still have a difficulty wrapping my brain around the different stages of menopause. Would you mind explaining that to me and our audience first?
Sure. So there are three main phases of menopause, and the first one is perimenopause. And that term really didn't even exist before 1996, I believe. So that is a fairly recent term, but it really is like the beginning of the fluctuations in your hormones as you are ending your reproductive years. So I'll go in a minute about some of the hormones that are really involved, but in perimenopause, it's your progesterone that starts to decline. Estrogen is going a little slower on its decline, but progesterone is taking that deeper dive. So there are definitely symptoms that occur when that happens. Then your periods may become erratic, and your flows are going way up and down. And big indicators are very heavy flows for a lot of women as they're ending perimenopause and then starting the next stage. The next stage is only one day. Menopause is an umbrella term for everything, but it's actually just one day. And
Wow.
that is the day that you have gone 12 consecutive months without your period. So if you have your period, you don't have your period for like 3 months and then you get it, you start over. So then it has to be 12 consecutive months. Um, so it's in one day. And if you know what that is, for myself, I was unable to because I'd had an ablation, which is where they take the lining of the uterus, because of my heavy, heavy flow. And I don't know when that day was, but if you do figure it out, it is a day you should celebrate because that part's done.
So let me stop you there for a
Yeah,
minute. That's amazing. I did not know that. Like, that's
yeah.
so cool. Thank you. And things are falling into place now. Like, before my period stopped, I was erratic, and I had such heavy flows that from here to the next city is 20 minutes. I one time I had to go buy new clothes so I could go to
Oh,
a meeting over there. It was horrible. And I didn't realize, I always blamed it on my thyroid, but it was probably because I was in that perimenopause state,
for
you know.
sure. And, I was teaching during that time, and teachers, can rarely get out to go to the bathroom, let alone if your flow is off the rails. So it was very concerning, and I totally understand women that are going through all of that.
Yeah.
So then post menopause is the day after menopause, and that's basically the rest of our lives. During that phase, your estrogen takes a deep dive. And that's when we start having uh, more dry skin. I have dry eyes. There's vaginal atrophy, loss of libido, all of some of those really more common symptoms really pop up during postmenopause. Um, and it really, perimenopause can last 10 to 14 plus years. Postmenopause is, the rest of your life. However, there are some women that will have more symptoms than others, obviously, and some may not really have any struggles at all through that period of time. I wish I had been one of them.
So let me ask you a little question around
Mhm,
that to make sure I got it right. So perimenopause can last 10 to 14 years. Is that what you
mhm,
said? Okay.
mhm.
And I'm getting a master class here. So postmenopause is the rest of our lives. And I know that sometimes women's symptoms, is it true that they can kind of resolve the older they get, or is that not necessarily true?
Not necessarily true. It's just as every woman goes through puberty differently, it's the same with the menopause journey. Like
Okay.
we can have some similarities and some dissimilarities, but we're on our own journeys.
Okay.
So it's hard to always compare each other.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And then I think you were going to talk next about the four core hormones.
So yes, there is estrogen and then progesterone and testosterone. And then I like to include cortisol as the fourth real core during menopause. And again, remember, I'm using menopause as that umbrella term now.
Mhm.
So I, you know, every one of those have a base of things that, if you have too much or too little, it causes problems. Estrogen and progesterone are like partners in a dance for most of our life, and they are basically in line with each other. And as we get into perimenopause, that progesterone drops, and the further apart our estrogen and progesterone go, the more likely you're going to see more symptoms.
Okay.
So then by the time you get to postmenopause, that estrogen starts to take a deep dive, and it's becoming further and further apart. So then you're having the sleep issues, and uh, metabolism and all kinds of things. What's so interesting is that cortisol, as a part of that,
Mhm.
can mimic a lot of the symptoms that may be estrogen related, progesterone related, testosterone related. Because if your cortisol is too high, you're going to have sleep problems, you're going to have weight problems, you're going to have like all of these other issues. So it's uh, it's fascinating how all of those work together.
That is fascinating. And
Mhm.
my cortisol pattern, I need to get my hormones tested again next month. But last year at this time, my cortisol pattern was flipped. It's lowest in the morning and highest in the late afternoon,
Ah,
which is indicative of the adrenal fatigue I was going through. So I'm really hoping it's different and better this time. But it's so true. My sleep, really did affect my sleep, you know.
mhm.
So you're
And we're in the highest like stress parts of our lives as we're going through perimenopause through menopause. Like you are, if you have children at home, they have now kind of taken off, or you're in the middle of, you're at the end of raising them when the highest, the high school years and all of that are going on. And then on the other end, your parents are also aging. So a lot of our age group have both ends, and we're trying to manage ourselves and our careers and everything in the middle. You think our cortisol might be a little high?
Yeah,
Possibly.
definitely. And so if your cortisol is high, then can that throw off the other hormones as well?
It can mimic the same,
Okay.
it can mimic some of the same symptoms that you may be experiencing. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to figure out, um, what is my stress level? Are there things I can do about that can help me as well?
Well, I think this is a good point to lead us into some of your top tips, right? For
Mhm.
hormone health.
So, in the area, I think that eating and movement, communication with relationships are, and sleep. Like those are the big ones for me, I feel. So with eating, it's we have to really be concentrating. You guys hear this all the time, but it really the healthy eating aspects during menopause are so important because our we just metabolize differently. So eating healthy fats, like, and hopefully you like avocados. I know not everybody does, but there's other healthy fats out there besides avocados. But healthy fats help us to actually metabolize our food better. um, and then obviously more greens, lean proteins, a lower carbohydrate diet. Doesn't necessarily have to be keto or extreme, but you just need to be paying attention to what you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
um,
No
and
processed
then,
foods. Yeah.
yeah, the high processed foods are a no no. Low, low sugar, no sugar, as much as you can do. Um, alcohol is something we need to minimize because that can actually trigger our hot flashes. So you do need to be careful with alcohol as well. Movement, the high intensity movement is not really recommended during, especially, like, you can do some of it in perimenopause, but as you go into postmenopause, high intensity type workouts are working against you because you're actually building more cortisol.
Oh, that's good to
So
know. I feel better.
I'm like, yay. That doesn't mean you don't have to exercise. So,
I'm kidding. I
so
like exercise. So what kind of exercise do you recommend?
So walking 100% is terrific for you. Walking as much as, as many steps as you can get in. Going outside and trying to take a walk obviously is even better. Seeing the sunshine and vitamin D, and that helps with our cortisol levels as well. Um, strength training, weight training is incredibly important because we lose muscle mass as we're aging, and also because of the drops in those core hormones can lead to muscle loss.
Mhm.
So, strength training also helps us against osteoporosis.
Mhm.
So, osteoporosis is an estrogen related, like, if as your estrogen drops, the calcium in your bones become less dense.
Okay.
So, strength training can help build that back up.
Hmm. So I like that. I walk every day and I love to do it outside. I feel it's more of my mental therapy than anything
Mhm.
else. But I'm glad that it's also benefiting my hormones and
And
strength.
yoga, Carol, you were just talking about yoga, and before we got on, and yoga is a wonderful, meditating and yoga and all of that are great as well. So the small
Yeah.
movement,
And with
any
you,
movement you're making, you're still going to lap everyone that's sitting on the couch, right?
that's right. And I do like yoga. I just told you earlier that I started an online class today that meets once a week for half an hour. And my intention is that it just helps me get back into my practice each week. And it was wonderful. And I like yoga too, because not for the mindfulness, for the calmness, but also it can be invigorating and you use your own body weight. So I often feel stronger, like my muscles feel stronger because I use my own body weight. So anyway, I could rant about yoga all day long.
Sleep. Sleep is a biggie. We have hygiene in other areas, and sleep hygiene is another good area to pay attention to. What is your environment looking like to set yourself up to be able to go to sleep? And there's small things we can try to do to get to sleep. Some of that could be some stretching. There's a couple yoga poses that you could do right before you go into bed. Some people believe that, a hot bath before going to bed. Um, all electronics off an hour before you go to bed. I find that one still hard. Um,
Me too.
uh, waking up, if you continually wake up, and I really went through a period of time where I had like years of not being able to sleep. And if you're if you're waking up and then looking at the clock, that's probably the worst thing you can do. You need to turn the clock away from you and not pay attention to it. If you can't go back to sleep in like 20 minutes, they do recommend that you just get up. And I've thought about that so many times, like, oh, I could go do something and be productive for a little while. Like, go ahead and do a little something productive, or read, or do something to get your brain off of the cycle of I can't sleep, I can't sleep, I can't sleep, because you're training yourself then to not sleep. It's pretty interesting.
So
Even getting up to go to the bathroom through the night, which is an issue.
I have a question
Yeah.
on
Mhm.
that, because that is me. Getting up to go to the bathroom multiple times a night when you didn't used to when you were younger. What is that a function of? What hormones are involved in that?
Estrogen. Estrogen is such a biggie. But you can also, like, before I tried some things, I, heard that, you can do a lot of good by just talking to yourself about this problem. So I would start to say, yeah, because honestly, through the night, you should only be holding about a cup of liquid in your bladder. It is not enough to really get you to have to get up and go. You should be able to sleep through the night. So their hint was, tell yourself, no, you don't have to go. And you just kind of move a little bit in a different position and concentrate and say, no, I don't have to go. And it's remarkable how effective that was.
Oh,
Is that,
cool. Thank you.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great tip. I'm going to
Mhm.
try that tonight.
Yeah, I'm like, doesn't mean it's 100%, but it gets your brain thinking, no, I don't have to get up every night. Why am I doing this?
Yeah,
Because you
I
kind of
feel
train your brain to do it.
yeah, I'm up less now once since I started the Ova-M, but I still do
Mhm.
get up. And I think to myself, this is ridiculous. I mean, did I drink that much water before bed?
Right? Right?
So thank you. Okay, so we covered exercise and diet and sleep. Was there another thing that you were gonna
I just said communication with your partner.
oh yeah,
Um,
that's so key.
it really is key, and it may not be like hormone related, but you need that support. And our moms, grandmas, aunts, they didn't discuss it, right? So uh, we need to stop that cycle and start talking to our partners. How are they supposed to know what we're going through if we don't talk about it?
Exactly.
So
Instead of them just getting the brunt of the, "Are you
yes.
breathing again?" Like, "What is that noise?" "I'm just breathing, honey."
Right.
Instead
Yeah.
of them
Are you
getting
really eating this loudly? I don't understand it. Like, we get, yeah, our moods, that's mood swings. Like, we get very irritable, and that it again, communication is going to be key. And I could do a whole thing on just that part, but
yeah, well, thank you. Um, Before we wrap up, did I miss asking you any questions, or was there anything else that you wanted to share?
I don't think so, other than I think our product, Ova-M, and for women that are still in their cycles, Ova, um, I think it is a wonderful option if for women who can't take HRT, hormone replacement therapy. They can't take it because of possible, medical conditions such as cancer, like they've gone through, medical conditions that can't take it, or women who are just scared to take it because of like some of the myths and things that are out there about it. Um, or they just, you know, just they know they don't want to.
Mhm.
I think that product serves this portion of our population really well.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you so much for your all your information today. And I just would like to end with telling a little bit of my story.
Mhm.
Um, I had a hysterectomy due to uterine cancer several years ago, and so instantly, even though I'd been having horrible perimenopause symptoms for years, and now listening to you, I understand. That's what it was. Then I had my hysterectomy, and I was already in post menopause, I think. maybe not. Anyway, then of course, it put me into instant postmenopause. And so I had, hot flashes, night sweats. In fact, the night sweats I had for years, and I always blamed it on my thyroid. And then once I got my hormones straightened out, that went away. So it's pretty fascinating. You think it's one thing, but it's so complicated in our bodies, right?
It is really important to get your thyroid checked though, because
Yeah.
it definitely, there's some mirroring of symptoms there as well. So I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, and I have thyroid disease, and I don't actually have a thyroid anymore, so I have to really watch my levels. Um, so I did HRT, just a small amount to help with those symptoms, and then when our Ova-M came out, I was really excited about some of the testimonies. So I actually and went off my HRT so I could test this out, and I'm happy to say I thought I would have issues in the transition from
Mhm.
HRT to Ova-M, and I did not. Maybe a couple nights or a couple mornings, I might have a little warmness, but not like a full-fledged hot flash. Within a couple of days, I was sleeping better, and which was wonderful because I had gone years with poor sleep. And I don't have a problem falling asleep. It's waking up consistently in the night, toss and turn and toss and turn. It's horrible.
Yeah, mine was both ends. Couldn't fall asleep and couldn't stay asleep.
Oh, no, no, thank
It
you.
was a mess.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing I noticed was kind of a sense of just real calm and peacefulness in my body. And even today, like this morning, I'm not a morning person, and I just woke up and just like, I'm so happy. Like, what's
Mhm.
wrong with me? Like, what's going on? Why am I so happy all the time? So now I call these my little happy pills.
That's
But
what I
basically, this is not a product that is HRT related. It's not going to balance your hormones. What this is and what the OVA is specific core nutrition for every single phase of a woman's cycle, whether you're still menstruating or not. And it's just pretty amazing what it's done. So if you want to get on the OVA and or Ova-M and try it out and see if it helps you, get with the person who added you to our group. And also, I just want to thank everybody for being here today and watching the replay as well. Drop replay in the comments if you watch the replay. And thank you for participating in our 5-day challenge for hormone health. And I just want to thank you, Amy. You are amazing. I can't wait for your course to come out. I will be buying it. I learned so much from you today. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, take care. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you too. Bye.
Bye.